The river always remembers, even when the rest of us try so hard to forget. My name is Delphine Marie LeBlanc, and for 21 years I have carried the sound of my little sister's scream in my ears every single night when the house goes quiet. It was August 29, 2005. Hurricane Katrina had already torn the roof off half of Louisiana, but down here in Plaquemines Parish we thought we were safe. We were wrong. I was 17. Old enough to know better, young enough to believe love could outrun a Category 5. My baby sister Evangeline, Evie, was only 9. All freckles and red curls and questions that never stopped. That night the levee broke while we were evacuating. The water came so fast it swallowed the road behind us. Daddy turned the old Ford around to go back for Mama's medicine chest. He told us to stay in the boat with Uncle Ray. I still see it in slow motion. Evie's tiny hand slipping from mine, the black water closing over her head, her mouth open in one last word that sounded like my name. Then nothing. Just the roar of the storm and the weight of being the one who let go. They never found her body. They told us the river took her. 21 years later, the river decided to give something back. It started with a plain white envelope in Mama's mailbox on a Tuesday morning in early June. No return address. Just Mama's name typed in plain black ink, Mrs. Irene LeBlanc. Inside was a single Polaroid photograph and a small silver necklace. The necklace was Evie's, the one with the tiny crawfish charm Daddy gave her for her 8th birthday. The photograph showed a young woman, 29, maybe 30, standing on the levee at sunset. Long red hair twisted up in a knot, freckles across her nose, green eyes looking straight at the camera like she was daring it to blink. It was Evie, older, alive. On the back of the photo, written in blue ballpoint pen, "I'm ready to come home. Tell them I'm sorry I waited so long." Mama dropped the envelope like it burned her. She was on the kitchen floor crying so hard I thought her heart would stop right there between the coffee pot and the sink. I was 40 now. Married once, divorced once, no children. I run the little bait shop on Highway 23, and I still flinch every time thunder rolls in off the Gulf. But when I saw that picture, something inside me cracked wide open. I called my brothers. First Bo, the oldest, 45, sheriff's deputy in Jefferson Parish, voice like gravel and bourbon. Then Ramai, 43, shrimper out of Venice. Hasn't slept inside 4 walls since the storm. Then Jude, 38, the quiet one. Lives in Atlanta now, designs video games where nobody ever drowns. And finally Theo, 35, the baby boy, lives in California pretending Louisiana never happened. I told each of them the same thing. Come home, she's alive. They all said the same thing at first. That's impossible, Delphine. Then they all said the second thing. I'm on my way. Daddy was in the back bedroom under hospice care, cancer in his lungs and liver and everywhere the storm didn't already take. He hadn't spoken in 3 days. But when I carried the photograph to his bed and laid it on his chest, his eyes opened clear for the first time in weeks. He looked at the picture. He looked at me. And he whispered one word before the morphine pulled him back under. Forgive. That night the 5 of us who were left sat around Mama's kitchen table like we used to when we were kids. Same scarred oak. Same flickering bulb. Same smell of chicory coffee and fear. Bo laid his sheriff's badge on the table like he was surrendering it. Ramai smelled of diesel and salt, and the kind of tired that never washes off. Jude kept staring at the necklace like it might disappear if he blinked. Theo hadn't cut his hair in years. Looked like Jesus with a trust fund. And me, I was the one who let go. We didn't hug, we didn't cry, not yet. We just stared at the empty chair where Evie used to sit. Bo broke the silence. Tomorrow we go to the levee where the picture was taken. Sunset. Whoever sent this will be there. Ramai nodded slow. And if it's really her, Jude's voice was barely air. Then we ask the only question that matters. Theo finished it. Why didn't she come home sooner? Outside, the cicadas screamed like the end of the world. Inside, 5 broken adults tried to remember how to be siblings again. Mama stood in the doorway holding the silver necklace against her heart. She's coming home, Mama said. After all this time, my baby's coming home. None of us slept that night. We sat on the porch listening to the river slide past in the dark. It sounded patient, like it had been waiting too. The next day felt like walking through wet cement. We met at the house at 4 o'clock. Nobody spoke much. We just moved like people in a dream we were scared to wake up from. Mama wanted to come, but her legs wouldn't hold her. She sat on the porch swing clutching Evie's necklace and rocking the same way she did the week after the storm, like if she stopped moving the world might notice she was still breathing. Daddy never woke up again after that one word. The nurse said it could be tonight, could be next week. Time was a suggestion now. Bo drove his sheriff's truck. Ramai rode shotgun with a thermos of coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Jude, Theo, and I crammed in the back seat like we were teenagers again. The levee road was the same cracked asphalt it had been in 2005. Cypress knees still poked up out of the brown water like drowning fingers. Dragonflies stitched the air together. We parked where the photo was taken. Same bend in the river. Same rusted-out chevron sign half-sunk in the mud. Sun was already bleeding orange across the water. We stood in a ragged line, 5 silhouettes against the dying light. Bo checked his watch every 30 seconds. Ramai lit a cigarette with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. Jude kept taking his glasses off and putting them back on like the world might change focus. Theo stared at the river like he was trying to hate it into giving answers. I just waited. I had been waiting 21 years. Another few minutes wouldn't kill me. They had already done that. At 6:47 p.m. exactly, a white pickup appeared on the far end of the levee road, dust curling behind it like smoke. It stopped 50 yards away. The driver's door opened slow. A woman stepped out. Red hair twisted up in a knot. Freckles across her nose like cinnamon on cream. Green eyes that looked straight through us and saw every sin we ever committed. She was barefoot, wearing a faded sundress the color of river clay. In her right hand she carried a small canvas duffel. In her left, a single white camellia flower. None of us moved. She started walking toward us. Every step sounded like a heartbeat in my ears. When she was 20 feet away she stopped. Her voice came out soft, cracked around the edges, pure Plaquemines Parish. Hey y'all! The cigarette fell out of Ramai's mouth and burned a hole in the grass. Bo made a sound like a man who'd been shot and didn't know it yet. Jude whispered, Jesus Christ, and I couldn't tell if it was prayer or curse. Theo took one step forward, then another, then he was running. He hit her like a wave, arms wrapping around her so hard her feet left the ground. She dropped the duffel and the flower and held on just as tight. I saw her mouth moving against his shoulder. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Then the rest of us broke. We crashed into her like the storm had come back in reverse, pulling instead of pushing. I don't know who was crying loudest. Maybe all of us. She smelled like salt and sunshine and something I had forgotten existed, little sister skin. When we finally let go enough to breathe, she stepped back and looked at each of us, slow, like she was counting to make sure nobody else had been taken. Then she looked at me last, her eyes filled. Delphine, she said, I never blamed you, not once. I think that's when my knees gave out. Ramai caught me before I hit the ground. Evie knelt in the dirt with me, both of us crying so hard we couldn't see. Bo was the first to find words. How? He rasped. How are you alive? She wiped her face with the back of her hand. Can we sit? It's a long story, and the mosquitoes are fixing to carry me off. We sat in a circle right there on the levee like we used to do when we were kids telling ghost stories. The sun melted lower, turning the river to liquid fire. Evie started talking. After the water took me, I got tangled in a cypress stump. Couldn't scream anymore, lungs full of river. Then a man in a pirogue pulled me out. Old Vietnamese fella named Mr. Duck. He was checking his crab traps, thought he hooked a big gar, found me instead. He took me home to his wife. They had lost their own little girl in the storm, same age as me, same red hair. They kept me. She paused, swallowed hard. They told everyone I was their niece from Baton Rouge. Gave me a new name. Lynn. Said the world was too broken to give me back right then. That y'all would think I was dead and it was kinder that way. I was 9, I didn't understand. I just wanted mama. Theo's fists were clenched so tight his knuckles went white. You could have written something. I tried, she said quietly. When I was 12 I stole Mr. Duck's phone and called the house. Mama picked up. I heard her voice and I panicked and hung up. After that they took the phone away. Said I wasn't ready. By the time I was 16 they were the only parents I remembered, and I was scared if I came back I'd lose them too. Ramai's voice was raw. They're dead now. The Ducks, she nodded. Miss Lan went first, cancer. Mr. Duck followed her 6 months later. Heartbreak, the doctor said. Left me the house, the boat, everything. I've been shrimping alone for 3 years, saving money. Trying to get brave enough to come find y'all. Jude finally spoke, soft. Why now? She reached into the canvas duffel and pulled out a newspaper clipping, yellowed and folded small. It was Daddy's obituary from the Picayune last week. They ran it early because of the hospice. The headline: Local Shrimper and Katrina Survivor Loses Final Battle. Evie's voice cracked. I thought I was too late. Then I thought maybe I could just see him buried. Say goodbye from a distance. But when I got to the cemetery, I saw Mama put that camellia on his casket. Same flower she used to put in my hair. I knew I couldn't hide anymore. She looked around the circle at each of us. I'm not asking y'all to forgive me tonight. I just needed you to know I never forgot you. Not for one single day. The sun touched the horizon then, flared bright, and slipped under the water like it was drowning itself. Bo stood up first. He took off his sheriff's badge, held it out to her. You're under arrest, he said, voice thick. She looked up startled. For stealing our hearts twice, he finished. And for making your big brother cry in public. Then he pulled her into another hug. We stayed on the levee until the stars came out and the mosquitoes tried to carry us all off to Texas. When we finally stood up to leave, Evie looked back at the river. I used to think it took everything, she said. Turns out it was just holding you for me until I was strong enough to come get you. Ramai slung an arm around her shoulders. Come on, little sister, let's take you home. We piled into the truck, 6 of us now, squished and laughing and crying all at once. As we drove away, I looked back. The river was black and shining under the moon. For the first time in 21 years, it didn't scare me anymore. It looked like it was smiling. We pulled up to the old house on River Road just after 10 o'clock that night. The porch light was on. Same weak yellow bulb Mama had refused to replace since 2004, because it still works, share. The swing creaked in the breeze like it had been practicing for this moment for 21 years. Mama was standing in the doorway before Bo even cut the engine. She looked small, smaller than I ever remembered. Like grief had sanded her down to the bone and then kept going. Evie stepped out of the truck last. Mama took one step. Then another. Then she ran. Bare feet on gravel, nightgown flapping like a ghost. She hit Evie so hard they both went down in the front yard, wrapped up together in the dirt and the moonlight, crying in Cajun French so fast it sounded like one long prayer. I couldn't move. None of us could. We just stood there in the headlights watching our mother hold the child she'd buried in her heart a long time ago. When they finally stood up, Mama cupped Evie's face with both hands, studying every line like she was trying to memorize it before it disappeared again. You hungry, baby? Mama asked. That was the first thing she said, not where you been, not how could you, just you hungry. Evie laughed through the tears. Starving, Mama. Mama turned to the rest of us, eyes shining fierce. Inside. All y'all, I got gumbo on the stove, been waitin' 21 years to feed my girl. We followed her like ducklings. Inside, nothing had changed. Same plastic-covered couch. Same velvet Jesus picture that watched you no matter where you stood. Same smell of Zatarain's and bleach and home. Evie walked through the room slow, touching everything like she was making sure it was real. She stopped in the hallway at the collage of pictures Mama kept adding to even after the storm. There was Evie at 4 on Daddy's shoulders, holding a stringer of catfish. Evie missing both front teeth in her first communion dress. Evie the last day we ever saw her, waving from the boat with that crawfish necklace flashing in the sun. Evie reached out and touched the glass over that last picture. I hated this necklace for years, she said quietly, because it was the only thing they ever found. Then I started wearing it again when Mr. Duck died, figured it was time to stop running from what it meant. Mama came up behind her, slipped the matching silver chain around Evie's neck, and clasped it. Now it's home where it belongs. We ate gumbo at the kitchen table until 2 in the morning. Mama kept refilling Evie's bowl like if she stopped, Evie might vanish. Between bites, we started asking the questions we'd been too afraid to ask on the levee. Bo went first. You got papers, birth certificate, ID, Evie nodded. Lynn Marie Duck, that's what's legal now. Mr. Duck made it official when I was 12, I never changed it back, wasn't sure I had the right. Ramai leaned forward. You married, kids? She shook her head. Came close once, boy from Lafitte. He wanted me to sell the boat, move to Houston. Said the past was an anchor dragging me down. I told him some anchors are the only thing keeping you from drifting out to sea. Theo, who hadn't said much since the levee, finally spoke. Does it hurt, seeing us all grown, knowing you missed everything? Evie looked at him for a long time. Every day, she said, but missing you from far away hurt worse than this ever could. Jude, practical as always, pulled out his phone. I can start the paperwork tomorrow. Get your name changed back legally. Shouldn't take more than. Evie put her hand over his. I don't want to erase Lynn, she said softly. She kept me alive. Maybe I can be both. Evangeline Lynn LeBlanc. Two names for two lives. Mama nodded like that was the most natural thing in the world. We were cleaning up bowls when the hospice nurse came out of Daddy's room. She didn't have to say anything. Her face said it all. Mama dropped the spoon in the sink. It clanged loud in the sudden quiet. We went in together. Daddy was propped up on pillows, eyes open but cloudy. The oxygen hissed soft and steady. Evie walked straight to the bed and took his hand. His eyes found her face. Focused, cleared, he knew, his lips moved. No sound at first, then a whisper so faint we had to lean in. Ma petite rue, my little red. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Evie leaned over and kissed his forehead, the way she used to when she had nightmares and crawled into their bed. I'm here, Daddy, I made it home. He squeezed her hand once. Hard. Then his eyes drifted to each of us around the bed. Bo, Ramai, Jude, Theo, me. He tried to smile, couldn't quite manage it. Mama took his other hand. We all here share your babies, all of 'em. Daddy looked at Evie one more time. Closed his eyes. The heart monitor slowed. Beep, 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 flatlined. The nurse reached to turn it off. Mama started singing. Old Cajun lullaby she used to sing to Evie when she was colicky. Fais doo ma petite bébé. One by one we joined in. Voices cracking, off-key, beautiful. Daddy slipped away while his family sang him across. When it was over, Evie laid her head on his chest and stayed there a long time. Outside, the river kept moving, black and slow and ancient. Inside, we held each other in the room where a man had just died happy for the first time in 21 years. Later, when the coroner came and the neighbors started bringing casseroles, Evie stood on the porch with me and watched the sky turn the color of a fresh bruise. I thought I'd feel guilty, she said, for waiting so long. But right now, I just feel full. I slipped my arm around her waist. The river took its time giving you back, I said. But it gave you back on the exact night Daddy needed you most. That's not coincidence, baby girl. That's grace. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Think we can keep her this time? She asked. I looked at the house full of noisy, broken, healing people who were suddenly whole again. Yeah, I said. I think this time we can. Daddy's wake was held in the house, because the funeral home in Bellechasse flooded again last spring and never reopened. In Plaquemines Parish, we bury our own the old way. Front parlor turned chapel, body in an open casket. Every cousin, neighbor, and person he ever lent $5 to coming through with a casserole and a story. The air smelled of lilies, candle wax, and Mama's coffee strong enough to raise the dead. Which felt fitting. Daddy looked peaceful in his Sunday suit, the one he only wore for weddings and funerals. Mama had tucked a small crab trap float in his hands, painted saints black and gold, because he's going fishing now, Cher. Evie never left his side. She wore a simple black dress we found in the back of Mama's closet. One of mine from high school that still fit her like it had been waiting. People kept doing double takes when they saw her. Mon Dieu, Irene, who's that red-headed girl looks just like? Then Mama would smile through tears and say, That's my baby Evangeline, come home at last. And the whole room would go quiet for a second before the hugging and crying started all over again. By noon the yard was full of pickup trucks, and folding chairs, and kids running wild like it was a crawfish boil instead of a wake. Bo stood at the door in his dress uniform, greeting people like the sheriff he was. But his eyes kept drifting to Evie every time she laughed at somebody's story about Daddy. Ramai had set up a pot of gumbo on the burner outside, and was feeding half the parish whether they were hungry or not. Jude and Theo were in the kitchen arguing over the playlist. Theo wanted acoustic Bon Iver. Jude wanted only Clifton Chenier. So it ended up a weird mix of Zydeco and sad white boy music that somehow worked. I was refilling sweet tea when Tante Lorraine, Mama's sister who tells it like it is, and then tells it again louder, cornered me by the fridge. Delphine Marie, she said, hands on hips. You gonna tell me how this miracle happened, or do I gotta wait for the movie? So I told her the short version. Mr. Duck, the storm, the waiting. When I finished, she crossed herself 3 times and said, That old Vietnamese man got wings now, Cher, big ones. Then she hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. Around 4 o'clock the priest came and did the rosary. Half the people were drunk on Mama's peach wine by then, but they still managed to mumble along. After the last Hail Mary, Evie stood up and asked if she could say something. The room went still. She walked to the casket, laid her hand on Daddy's chest, and started talking like she was alone with him. Hey Daddy, it's me, your little red. I know I took the long way home, but I'm here now. And I brought you something. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a tiny plastic crawfish, The kind kids win at the parish fair. She tucked it into his suit pocket right over his heart. That's from my first boil after you were gone. Caught it myself. Thought you'd want to know your girl learned how to work a net. Her voice cracked. I wish I could have brought you more years, but I brought me instead. Hope that's enough. Then she leaned down and kissed his forehead one last time. There wasn't a dry eye in Plaquemine's parish. Later, when the sun started sinking and the mosquitoes came out like they'd been invited, Evie slipped outside to the dock behind the house. I found her sitting on the edge, feet dangling over the water, staring at the river like it might talk back. I sat beside her. Didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, she spoke. I keep waiting for somebody to be mad, she said. Really mad, scream at me, ask me why I didn't fight harder to come home. Would it help if we did? She thought about it. No, I think I need y'all to love me anyway, even if I don't deserve it. I bumped her shoulder with mine. Welcome to the LeBlanc family. We've been loving people who don't deserve it since 1742. She laughed, a real laugh this time. From the house we heard Beau's voice boom. Evangeline Lynn LeBlanc, get your butt in here and eat some of Tante Lorraine's bread pudding before I arrest you for starving. She wiped her eyes, stood up, offered me her hand. Come on, big sister. Let's go get fat and remember how to be a family. We walked back up the path together. Behind us, the river slid past quiet and dark. For the first time in 21 years, it didn't feel like it was waiting to take something. It felt like it had finally given everything back. The wake ended at midnight, but nobody left. That's how it is down here. Once you cross the threshold with food and grief, you're family until the coffee runs out or the sun comes up, whichever takes longer. We moved the party to the backyard. Somebody built a fire in the old burn barrel. Folding chairs circled it like wagons. Guitars appeared. Beer too. Someone passed around a bottle of hot damn cinnamon whiskey that tasted like regret and Christmas. Daddy's casket stayed open in the parlor with 2 candles burning, the way Mama wanted. He always hated sleeping alone, she said. Evie sat on an ice chest between Ramai and Theo, knees pulled to her chest, listening to stories she'd missed for 2 decades. Beau was drunk enough to tell the truth. He stood up, beer in one hand, and pointed at Evie. Y'all wanna know the real reason I became a cop? Everyone went quiet. Even the crickets seemed to lean in. Guilt, he said flat. Plain and simple. That night the water came, I was supposed to be watching her. He jerked his chin toward Evie. Daddy told me, Beau, you the biggest, you keep her safe. I was 24, hungover from a bachelor party in N. Orleans, passed out in the boat. Woke up when the wave hit. By the time I grabbed for her, she was gone. He drained the beer, crushed the can. Been trying to lock up the whole damn world ever since so nothing bad can ever take another LeBlanc again. Didn't work, did it? He sat down hard. Nobody knew what to say. Ramai lit a cigarette with the fire, took a long drag. My turn, he said, smoke curling out his nose. I knew Mr. Duck had a little red-headed girl living with him. Everybody on the water did. Saw her once in 2010, maybe 2011, helping him pull traps. She looked right at me, I swear she knew who I was. But I told myself it couldn't be. Told myself I was seeing ghosts. Kept shrimping, kept drinking, kept lying. He flicked ash into the flames. I could have brought her home 10 years ago and I didn't, coward. Theo stared into the fire like it owed him money. I left, he said simply. First chance I got. Got a scholarship to UCLA and never looked back. Changed my last name to Lane's sophomore year so nobody would ask why I cried every time it rained. Pretended I was an only child from Baton Rouge. Told my friends my little sister drowned and I watched. Left out the part where I never even tried to find her body. He laughed, bitter. Turns out she was alive and I still buried her. Just took longer. Jude hadn't touched a drink all night. He spoke so soft we had to lean in. I kept a folder, he said, on my laptop, named it Evangeline. Every year on August 29th I added to it. Missing persons reports. Jane does with red hair. Articles about bodies found in the marsh. I told myself I was looking for closure. Truth is I wanted proof she was dead so I could stop feeling like the worst brother on earth. He finally looked at Evie. I'm sorry I needed you gone to sleep at night. The fire popped. Sparks flew up like tiny screams. Evie sat very still, letting it all land. Then she stood up, walked to the center of the circle, and turned slow so she could see every face. I need to tell y'all something too, she said. Her voice didn't shake, not even a little. The night the water took me, I let go on purpose. Silence so complete you could hear the river breathing. I was 9, she went on. Scared. Mama was screaming about her pills. Daddy was yelling at Uncle Ray to turn the boat around. The water was black and loud, and I thought we were all gonna die. When Delphine grabbed my hand, I felt her fingers slip. And for 1 second, one terrible second, I thought, if I let go, maybe they'll all be safer without me dragging them down. She looked straight at me. I let go, Del, not you, me. My throat closed. I couldn't breathe. I've carried that worse than anything, she said. Worse than being lost, knowing I chose it. She opened her arms wide. So here it is, all of it, every ugly piece. We all got blood on our hands tonight. Question is, what do we do with it now? Mama, who had been standing in the shadows listening, stepped into the firelight. She was holding Daddy's old Bible, the one with the cracked leather cover. We wash it off, she said simply. Same way we always done. With love and with mourning. She opened the Bible, pulled out a small bottle of holy water the priest had left. One by one she went around the circle, sprinkling a few drops on every bowed head. When she got to Evie last, she didn't sprinkle. She poured the whole bottle over her daughter's red hair and let it run down like baptism. Welcome home, baby, Mama whispered. No more secrets, no more shame. Just us. Evie stood there dripping and smiling and crying all at once. Ramai started playing his guitar, soft, some old Doug Kershaw song about the river and redemption. One by one we started singing. Off-key, broken, beautiful. The fire burned lower. The whiskey bottle went empty. And somewhere around 3 in the morning, Bo looked at Evie and said the truest thing any of us had ever heard. We thought we lost you, he said. Turns out we just misplaced ourselves for a while. Evie reached over and squeezed his hand. Found now, she said. And for the first time in 21 years, every LeBlanc sleeping under that roof went to bed whole. The funeral was at 10 o'clock the next morning, but the storm arrived first. Not rain, not wind. The kind of storm that lives in people. We were all dressed and ready to carry Daddy to the cemetery when Bo's phone rang. He stepped onto the porch to take the call, came back white as the lilies on the casket. That was the district attorney, he said. They're reopening the Katrina missing children cases because of the new DNA database. Someone in Baton Rouge entered Evie's profile last year, anonymous submission. It matched a child abduction flag from 2005. He looked at Evie. They think Mr. and Mrs. Duck kidnapped you. The room went cold. Mama made the sign of the cross so fast her rosary beads clacked like teeth. Evie didn't flinch. I figured this might come, she said. Mr. Duck warned me the day he made me lin on paper. Said one day the truth might knock. Told me to decide then what kind of woman I wanted to be. Ramai slammed his fist on the table. Coffee cups jumped. They saved her life. They're dead and they still get dragged through the mud. Bo rubbed the back of his neck. Law doesn't care about saints, Rem. It cares about paperwork. If the Ducks took her across state lines, even once, it's federal time if they were alive. Since they're not, the parish wants a statement from Evie. On record. Today, Mama started crying without sound, the worst kind. I looked at Evie. What do you want to do, baby? She took a slow breath. I want to tell the truth, all of it, but I want to do it here first, with y'all. Then I'll go with Bo and say whatever needs saying. So we closed the front door, pulled every chair into the parlor right beside Daddy's casket, and let the second storm break. Evie stood at the foot of the coffin like she was giving testimony in church. Mr. and Mrs. Duck never hurt me. Not once. They fed me, clothed me, taught me Vietnamese and how to read the water. They cried every night for the first year because they knew they stole somebody's child. Miss Lan used to rock me and say, one day we take you home, bae, when the world is soft again. She swallowed. But the world never got soft. FEMA money dried up. People were shooting at rescue helicopters. They were old, scared, and they loved me. And I was a terrified little girl who started calling them Ba and M1EB9 without meaning to. By the time things calmed down, I was their daughter in every way that mattered. And they were the only parents I had left who hadn't let the river take them. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her voice stayed steady. I could have run away at 16, 17, 18, I didn't. Because leaving them would have killed them faster than cancer did. So I stayed, and I loved them. And when they died, I buried them side by side under a camellia tree and promised I'd bring their ashes home with me one day and scatter them in the same water that brought me to them. She looked at Bo. So if telling the truth means their memory gets called kidnapping, I'll live with that. But I won't let anyone say they were monsters. They were human. Scared, broken humans who did the best they could with the piece of me the storm left on their doorstep. Silence thick enough to chew. Then Mama stood up, walked straight to Evie and took both her hands. You go with Bo, You tell every bit of that. And when they ask if you forgive the ducks, you tell them a daughter forgives her parents. That's what families do. Bo nodded once, eyes red. I'll be right there with you, Evangeline Lynn, every word. We loaded Daddy into the hearse first, then Bo and Evie rode together in his sheriff's truck to the station to give her statement. The rest of us went to the cemetery and waited under the oak trees with the grave already dug. The priest was patient. Said Mass could start a little late. Heaven wasn't on Louisiana time anyway. An hour later Bo's truck rolled up, kicking gravel. Evie stepped out first. She was smiling. Bo came around the hood, shaking his head like he couldn't believe it. DA listened to the whole thing, he said. Then closed the file. Called it extraordinary circumstances, no criminal intent. Said sometimes, the law has to make room for mercy. Mama let out a sob that sounded like 21 years leaving her body all at once. We buried Daddy under a sky so blue it hurt to look at. Evie scattered a handful of dirt, then opened a small tin and let Mr. and Mrs. Duck's ashes drift down with it. Rest together now, she whispered. All my parents in one place. After the last prayer, people started drifting away, but our family stayed. We stood around the raw earth until the sun got low and the shadows stretched long. Ramai broke the quiet. Storm's over, he said. Evie looked out at the river glinting between the cypress. No, she answered. Storm's just moved outside us now. Inside, it's finally calm. And for the first time since any of us could remember, every LeBlanc believed her. The morning after Daddy's funeral, the house felt too quiet. Like the walls were holding their breath, waiting for the next disaster to knock. Mama was in the kitchen at dawn, kneading biscuit dough like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Evie sat at the table peeling oranges, the sharp citrus smell cutting through the grief. Bo, Ramai, Jude, and Theo were scattered around the living room, picking at leftovers and pretending to read the Picayune. I was wiping down counters that didn't need wiping, just to have something to do with my hands. It was Theo who finally said what we were all thinking. So what now? 5 pairs of eyes turned to him. He was sprawled on the couch, hair still a California mess, but his voice had a new weight. Like coming home had reminded him he was a LeBlanc after all. Do we just go back, he asked. Back to our lives. After this, Ramai snorted, tossing a balled-up napkin at him. What, you gonna move into Mama's attic and start shrimping with me? Leave your fancy yoga studio and avocado toast. Theo caught the napkin, didn't smile. Maybe. Or maybe I just don't want to spend another 20 years pretending this family doesn't exist. Jude pushed his glasses up his nose, thoughtful. I've been thinking about that too. Atlanta's only 6 hours away. I could come back more. Work remote, help Mama with the house. Mama stopped kneading, flour dusting her wrists. Y'all don't need to babysit me, she said sharp. I've survived hurricanes and heartbreak and burying my husband. I ain't fragile. Evie set down an orange peel, her fingers sticky and deliberate. Nobody's saying you are Mama, but maybe we're the ones who need this place. Need you, need each other. Bo leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I'm staying put, he said. Sheriff's job ain't much, but it's mine, and now I got one more reason to keep the parish safe. He looked at Evie, eyes soft. Gotta make sure nobody takes my little sister again. Evie smiled, but it was tight. Like she was carrying something heavier than the moment. I've been thinking too, she said. About what home means now. I've got Mr. Duck's boat and the house in Lafitte. Been my anchor for years. But I don't want to be Lynn without y'all anymore. Or Evangeline without them. I want to be both. Here. Mama's hands stilled on the dough. You saying you're staying, baby? Evie nodded slow. I want to bring the boat upriver, dock it here, shrimp the parish waters like Daddy did, live close enough to eat your biscuits every Sunday. Mama's face crumpled, but she caught herself, turned back to the counter so we wouldn't see. I spoke for the first time all morning. And me, I'm not going anywhere, bait shop's paid for, I've got my routines, but I want to learn how to be a sister again, not just the one who let go. Evie reached across the table, squeezed my hand. You never let go, Del, you just held tighter than I deserved. The room went quiet again, but it was a good quiet. The kind that feels like a decision being made. That's when Tante Lorraine burst through the screen door with a Tupperware of shrimp etouffee, and the force of a tropical depression. Lord, y'all look like you solving world hunger in here, she announced, setting the container down like a grenade. I come to tell Irene the church ladies want to do a second line for your daddy tomorrow night. Brass band and everything. He always said he wanted to dance out of this world. Mama wiped her hands on her apron, eyes shining. He did say that, said quiet funerals were for Yankees. Taunt Lorraine nodded, satisfied, then pointed a finger at Evie. And you, little Miss Miracle, I got something for you too. She reached into her giant purse and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was a brand new crawfish charm, bigger and shinier than the old one, on a stronger chain. Had it made special, she said. Silver don't break twice. Evie took it with trembling fingers, clasped it around her neck next to the original. The two charms clinked together like a promise. That night we did what LeBlancs do when words run out. We cooked. Ramai fired up the big propane burner in the yard. Beau hauled out the cast-iron pot that weighed more than Evie. Theo and Jude shucked corn and peeled potatoes like they'd never left. I chopped the holy trinity, onion, bell pepper, celery, until my eyes burned worse from the onions than from crying. Mama and Evie stood shoulder to shoulder at the stove, stirring roux the color of dark chocolate, talking soft in Cajun French about recipes and memories and things only mothers and daughters understand. By midnight the whole parish was back in our yard again. Tables made from plywood and sawhorses. String lights somebody found in the attic. Clifton Chenier blasting from somebody's truck speakers. And for the first time in 21 years, every chair was full. People kept coming up to Evie with stories. Girl, I used to babysit you when you was in diapers. Your daddy taught me how to read the tide when I was 10. I still got the Valentine you gave me in 2nd grade. She listened to everyone like she was collecting pieces of herself she'd lost. Around 2 in the morning the crowd thinned. The fire burned low. Someone handed Evie a beer and dared her to dance. She laughed, kicked off her shoes, and started two-stepping barefoot in the grass with Ramai. Then Beau cut in. Then Jude. Then Theo spun her so fast her hair came loose and flew wild like fire. I stood on the porch watching my brothers dance with the sister they thought they'd buried, and something inside me finally unclenched. Mama came to stand beside me, slipped her arm around my waist. She fits, Mama said simply, like she never left. I rested my head on her shoulder. She didn't, I said. We just had to grow big enough to hold all of her again. The song ended. Evie ran up the porch steps, breathless and glowing, grabbed both our hands. Come on, she said. Family dance. No spectators. So Mama and I let her drag us into the yard. And for one perfect, impossible minute, every LeBlanc alive and dead was moving to the same rhythm under the same Louisiana stars. Later, when the last guest left and the moon hung low and silver over the river, Evie and I walked down to the dock again. She carried 2 beers. Handed me one. We sat with our feet in the water, cool and dark and alive. I used to dream about this dock, she said. Dream I was sitting here with y'all, but every time I tried to talk, no sound came out, like I was still underwater. She took a long pull from the bottle. Tonight I talk so much my throat hurts, feels good. I nudged her with my shoulder. Stay, I said. Not just visit, stay, the room's still yours. The boat can tie up right here, we'll fix the pier. Make it ours again. She was quiet a long time. I want to, she said finally, but I'm scared. Of what? That I'll wake up and it'll be gone, that I'll ruin it, that I don't know how to be Evangeline anymore. I set my beer down, turned to face her. You don't have to know how yet, we'll teach you. Same way you're teaching us how to be whole again. She looked at me then, really looked, eyes shining with everything we'd lost and found. I love you, Delphine, she said. I never stopped, even when I forgot how to say it. I pulled her into my arms and held on like I was 9 years old again and the water was coming. I love you too, baby girl. And this time I'm not letting go. Behind us, the house lights glowed warm through the windows. Ahead of us, the river moved slow and steady, carrying moonlight instead of grief. And for the first time in 21 years, the night felt wide enough for all our stories. The second line for Daddy started at dusk on Saturday. The sky was the color of a fresh bruise turning gold at the edges, the way Louisiana skies do when they've decided to show off one last time. Word had spread through the parish like wildfire in dry marsh. The LeBlancs are sending Claude LeBlanc home proper. Bring your instruments, your dancing shoes, and your loudest joy. By 6 o'clock the yard was full again, fuller than the wake, fuller than the funeral. Pickup trucks lined both sides of River Road clear to the levee. Kids ran wild with sparklers. Old men tuned fiddles on tailgates. Somebody rolled a flatboat right up the bank so the casket could ride the water one last time. Daddy would have loved it. Mama stood on the porch in her best black dress with purple flowers, mourning and celebration stitched together. She held Evie's hand on one side and mine on the other. Evie wore white linen and both crawfish necklaces. Her hair was loose and wild, red as the sunset. Bo, in full dress uniform, stood at the foot of the steps like a general who finally knew what he was fighting for. Ramai had cleaned up for once. Boots shined, shirt tucked, eyes clear. Jude and Theo flanked him, arms slung around each other's shoulders like they were 16 again. The band arrived on the back of 2 flatbed trailers. The Bayou Renegades Brass Band, 15 pieces strong, horns polished, drums ready to raise the dead. The leader, a big man named T-Boy with a voice like a foghorn, raised his trombone and shouted, "This one's for Claude LeBlanc, king of the river and father of miracles. First line, family only. Second line, everybody else." The horns started slow and low. "Just a closer walk with thee." The casket was carried out by the 6 of us. Bo, Ramai, Jude, Theo, me, and Evie in the place of honor at the front right corner, Daddy's favorite spot when he used to carry her on his shoulders. We walked down the path to the dock, slow as communion. Behind us, the first line formed. Mama, Tante Lorraine, cousins, godchildren, every soul Daddy ever fed or forgave. The flatboat waited, draped in black and gold saint's fabric. We slid the casket on gentle. T-Boy's trumpet cried like it had lost its best friend. We poled the boat out into the current 100 yards, just far enough that the river could say goodbye too. The priest said the final blessing. Then he nodded to T-Boy. T-Boy grinned like the devil just handed him a winning lottery ticket. 1, 2, cut it loose. The music exploded. When the saints go marching in, at 180 beats per minute. Every horn, drum, and sousaphone on the bayou lit up at once. The second line erupted. People poured off the bank like a dam broke. Handkerchiefs waving. Umbrellas twirling. Old ladies kicking heels higher than the teenagers. The flatboat turned into a parade float. Ramai started dancing on the bow, boots stomping so hard the boat rocked. Bo grabbed Mama and spun her until her dress flew out like a blackened purple flower. Jude and Theo linked arms with strangers and kicked in perfect unison. Evie stood at the front of the boat, arms wide, face turned to the sky, laughing and crying so hard the tears flew off her cheeks like sparks. I stood beside her, holding the rail, letting the music shake 21 years of grief out of my bones. The band marched down the bank playing loud enough to wake every ancestor from here to Acadia. People jumped in the water fully clothed just to feel alive. Somebody set off fireworks left over from the 4th. Roman candles screamed into the night. The river caught every reflection and threw it back 1,000 times brighter. We poled the boat in slow circles while the second line danced along the bank, following us like we were the Pied Piper of joy. At the darkest part of the bend, where the cypress trees hang low and the water goes black, Evie leaned over and opened the small tin again. She scattered the last of Mr. and Mrs. Duck's ashes into the current. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a single white camellia. She laid it on the water. It floated for a moment, perfect and glowing. Then the river took it gentle, like it understood. Back at the house, the band set up in the yard and played until the moon was high and the beer was gone and voices were raw. At some point the music slowed. T-Boy stepped forward with his trumpet. "This last one's for the little girl who came home," he said. He started playing "I'll Fly Away Soft and Sweet." One by one, every LeBlanc gathered in the center of the yard. Evie stood in the middle. We made a circle around her, hands linked. Mama on her left, me on her right, Bo, Ramai, Jude, Theo completing the ring. The band played, we swayed. And under the Louisiana stars, with the river singing backup and Daddy dancing somewhere we couldn't see yet, we sang the last verse together. "Some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away." When the final note died, Evie looked around the circle at every face that had carried her name in their chest for 21 years. "I'm not going anywhere," she said, voice steady and loud enough for the whole parish to hear. "This is home. Y'all are home. The river gave me back and I'm staying." Then she did something nobody expected. She dropped to one knee in the dirt, right there in front of God and everybody, and took Mama's hand. "Mama," she said, "I got 9 years with you the first time. I'd like the rest of my life with you the second time, if you'll have me." Mama pulled her up into the fiercest hug I've ever seen. The band struck up again, wild and free. And the second line danced until sunrise. When the sky turned pink and gold and the last horn player packed up, we stood on the porch exhausted, barefoot and whole. The river slid past quiet now, carrying camellias and fireworks ash and every tear we'd ever cried. Evie leaned against the rail, hair tangled, face streaked with sweat and joy. She looked at each of us, one by one. "The river took," she said softly, But tonight it gave back more than it ever stole. Mama raised her coffee cup to the dawn. To Claude LeBlanc, she toasted, who's dancing with the saints right now, looking down and saying, "About damn time, y'all." We laughed until we cried again. And somewhere in the distance, a trumpet answered, faint but clear, like the river itself had learned the tune. The LeBlancs were broken once. The storm tried to finish us. But family, real family, is the one thing the water can't wash away. It just carries it home.